Okay, so like I said, very short lesson today, just basically going through how we would compare and contrast distributions. Hopefully shouldn't be too bad just looking at sets of information and comparing their stuff. Things they want you to look for when you're doing those comparisons or contrasting. Shapes, center, and spreads are kind of our main things that we're going to look for. So shape would be like our skew, left skew, right skew, or like symmetric. Centers would be like means or medians. Spread is, there's a lot of them for spread. You could do like range or IQRs. The stuff we were doing last time, standard deviation, variance, that kind of thing. So you can look at those numbers and kind of do comparisons. And then they just give a checklist there on page 57 of things that when you're describing, comparison of two sets of things you should actually probably have in that description. So describing the variable involved, so don't just use numbers, like be specific about like what that variable or what that number actually means. Addresses all three of those major topics we talked about before, so shape, center, spread. Gives appropriate units, so like if we're measuring something in feet, label it as feet or square feet or whatever. Talk about both of the data sets you're comparing, so don't just talk about one, make sure you talk about both of them. And then use descriptions for your numbers, use numbers to make your words more specific. Okay, so really there's two activities we could have done together, but basically you're just looking at information and coming up with different things about the information. So I figured we didn't need to spend too much time on it. So we'll just look at this example here on our little packets. So they've got two sets of information here. I think both of them have 20 students in them. Yeah, both of them are 20 students. They're measuring everything in height in inches. The FST is basically function, statistics, and trig, so that's like our textbooks. So a class of 20 students in that class, and then 20 students in some sort of algebra class, and then we're just supposed to write a paragraph comparing and contrasting these two distributions. So they've got them in the histograms there we can compare. They calculated some stuff out for us on the side there, so like mean, median, IQR, standard deviation, and range. And then they also put it in a box plot there. Okay, so let's just start comparing and contrasting. Anybody got somewhere they want to start? Well, our three major things we got to talk about. We got to talk about the shape at one point, center, and spread. Okay, so let's start with shape. What do we think about the shape of our top histogram compared to the bottom histogram there? Do you think there's any skew to either of them? Okay, which one do you think has more of a skew? Probably the top one, right? Is that a right skew or a left skew? It would be a left skew because it's always where the tail goes. So you could say histogram for, and that one's FST, function, statistics, trig. I don't know phrases. I hate when it's sentences because I hate writing in general and English in general, but mixing with the math is hard. So histogram for that is skewed maybe like slightly left. And then maybe we could put like a comma there, compared, so we got to talk about both of them, compared to the histogram for algebra. What do we think about that one? Do we think it's got a skew or do we think symmetric? Me personally, I'm kind of leaning symmetric since it's kind of low here, kind of a high in the middle, kind of low there. And symmetric doesn't have to be like perfect, half and half on each side. It can just be kind of in general. So I would probably go that it's fairly symmetric. So compared to the histogram for algebra, which is fairly symmetric. Something along those lines. And since it's all like paragraph stuff, obviously there's like a million different things you could put for these sentences and that kind of thing. As long as you're giving a fairly good description, I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so that kind of talks about our shape. What about centers? So that'd be like mean and median, that kind of thing. Yeah, so for if you look at the FST one, it looks like both of those values are quite a bit higher, right? So you got 69.3 compared to 62, and then you got the median of that one 70 compared to the 63. So yeah, so we could say, I don't know, centers for FST are higher than algebra. And then I don't know if we want to, since we're supposed to be real specific with these, I don't know if we want to go comma, and then we could go like FST, mean, and then list that, 69.3, compared to algebra mean of 62.65. This is definitely a run-on sentence. And we'll do the same thing for median. FST median is 70 compared to algebra median at 63. Any ideas why we think those centers might be a little bit off? Why do you think the one's higher than the other? How old are kids typically in function, statistics, and trig? Older than those in the algebra, right? So you'd have to take algebra before the function, statistics, and trig. And what usually happens as kids get older? Well, not careless. We're talking about their heights, Noah. Their heights would increase a little bit, right? Yeah, they might care less too. Don't tell me that. Okay, then what else we got to describe? Spread. So that would be like range, standard deviation, IQR, that kind of thing. So looking at our spread information there, what do we think about that spread information? Similar, not similar? What do we think? Yeah, I'd say it's more similar than our other ones, right? So we could say both, what do we call them, distributions have similar let's go ranges. So that'd be like the IQR and the other range. And then we could also put just and standard deviation. And again, if you wanted to list out like specifically what they were, you could do that too. Like I said, the paragraph stuff just kind of sucks describing math in words like geometry and proofs. Like nobody really likes that. Well, yeah, that's basically what most of this section is. That's why I tried to kind of cut down some of what you got for your assignment there. So like for the assignment 1 through 8, but I got rid of 5 and 7 just so you're not writing tons and tons and tons of paragraphs about this stuff. And some of them there aren't necessarily like all paragraphs. Like number 2, you're just sorting stuff into either shape, center, or spread groups. And there's some other ones in there where you're just answering questions and you're not necessarily writing paragraphs, but there are a couple of them on there that's paragraphs, like 6 is a paragraph, 4 is paragraphs, but yeah, so.